Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another tier list video on the Vishal World channel. In today's video, we are going to be ranking every Valorant agent in the game. Now, you might be thinking that this is probably the hardest Valorant tier list that we have done so far on this channel, and you are right, it is. There is so much to take into account for this tier list, and that's why we need to get straight into it. Now, for this tier list, we need to go deeper. So there are a few factors we need to take into account. 1, its use in competitive. 2, its use in ranked. Yes, those are two different things. 3, how much is this character played? 4, how highly ranked is this character in their role? And 5, how many people main this character? And remember, if you guys enjoy content like this, make sure to like and subscribe and let me know down below if you guys want to see even more tier lists. Without further ado, let's get straight into the video. Here is the tier list of all 25 agents in the game right now. We had to switch up the tier list a little bit, so we have our normal ranks from S to D, trash, but for this, we also have not used. And not used is specifically for one character, and if you guys can guess it, comment it down below right now. But until we get to that agent, I'm not gonna say who it is. Now, starting this tier list off with Astra. Astra is a very interesting character when it comes to the ranking recently. Astra before was a very used character. Back in Champions 23 and all of the year after, it was used a decent bit, but when it got to around the time of Champions 24, people started using it less. They were relying more on Omen. Some of them were relying on Brim, some of them relying on Viper a lot. But I'm gonna say Astra is still an A tier character because Astra has 4 smokes. All of her util as a controller can be used to get some insane picks. Number 2 and 3, she might not be used in ranked a lot, but for how the amount that she is used in competitive and how hard it is to understand her character and how to use it effectively, it's honestly like learning an Initiator, which is the hardest role to learn in this game in my opinion. So I'm gonna say Astra is still an A. Now, is she gonna be a high A? Probably not. Is she gonna get boosted to S? Probably not. Breach is also a really good character. Breach's util has a really funny joke around it where when you hear someone coming up the site, you don't take any chances if you're someone that started playing out Breach. You will shoot your stun, shoot your blast, shoot your flashes just to scare the opponent off the site, not even to fight them. Breach is used a decent amount in competitive. He's used a decent amount in ranked, not the most used in either, but his use of util is really good and everybody likes playing Breach. Like, learning Breach is a fun thing because learning how to use that stun and getting picks, learning how to flash isn't hard. And honestly, I think Breach's kit is perfect for who the character is. I'm gonna throw Breach an A as well. Brimstone is a great smokes player. I think that if you're starting off in this game for the first time, learning how to play Brim is probably the easiest thing you can learn, and it gets you flowing for how to learn other agents in the game. Now, that being said, because he is the easiest, I feel like Brim has to either fall in B, if not C. And I'm gonna say Brim is probably a B. And the reason I'm gonna say Brim is B is because he's still useful on certain maps as well. People rely on him when it comes to bind. They use him and Viper in competitive, and in ranked, they always use Brim or Clove. Next, Chamber. Chamber recently got a buff to his character, but the problem is Chamber is not as OP as he used to be. He would arguably be the best agent in the game if it wasn't for how much they nerfed his util. And the thing is, I'm going to throw Chamber in probably the low end of C tier, if not D tier, because nobody uses Chamber anymore as a Sentinel because 1, his info gathering as a Sentinel isn't useful. 2, his util is mainly if you're a good shooter, and even if you're a good shooter in ranked or competitive, you need to learn how to use your util to your advantage. And his kit, no matter how much you learn it, in my opinion, you still can't really say that he's one of the better agents, or you would choose him to play. Not in ranked, not in competitive, and arguably no one's gonna play him in unranked either. So I think Chamber is a D. I don't think he's anything above that. If not, he could be a low C, but I wouldn't throw him even in the higher end to C. Now, Clove. Clove's util is something that is not hard to learn, but still not easy to learn. And the thing is, they're also a character with an iPad. So I would put Clove in B. They're used competitively. They're used in ranked pretty often. Even with Vice, people have kind of lost it for her already. And I just think that Clove is the perfect B tier, if not the highest B tier. And for them to get to lowest A is kind of hard because it's an iPad smokes character, but they're used so much that it only makes sense to put them as the highest B. And I think people enjoy playing this character and lock this character when they have to play smokes. Cypher right now in this meta has to be, if not an A tier character, if not an S. Cypher is probably the strongest character right now, just ahead of KJ, because his util is insane. The camera is busted. It can literally get you information off the very start of the round. It's a regenerative camera that comes back after it's broken. The trips right now are busted. The trips got buffed a while ago, close to a year ago, and they still haven't been changed. And on certain maps, there are unbreakable trips that you can use. And even when people try to braid it out, it doesn't work and I'll end up getting a teammate killed, which makes it a 5v4 for your team if you're using him. It is one of the most annoying characters to play on defense because there are so many new Cypher metas and Cypher trips and Cypher TikTok hacks that people are learning and using in ranked and competitive, which is the scariest part. Everyone gets caught off guard by Cypher, even though they know exactly how he's going to be played. He's used so much in ranked, he's used so much in competitive. Everybody likes locking this character if they need to play Sentinel or if they need to play a support player. It is the perfect agent right now in the game for someone to learn, someone to understand how the game works, and someone that wants to get into the more competitive aspect of the game. Now, for the character that's gonna go in the not used section, arguably the trash section, I'm gonna put Deadlock in not used. Number one, not used in competitive. There was a meta at a time where Deadlock was used just to see if they were worth using in the competitive atmosphere. Still not used a lot. I don't remember the last time seeing someone use Deadlock in VCT and VCT Ascensions or anything like that. Ranked, not used at all. Everybody clowns Deadlock. The kit is just useless. It's not that hard to get around. The one thing that's great about a kit is probably the net, because getting caught in the net makes it an easy kill for the opponent, and it's hard to debate when to get out of the net, when to stay in the net, blah blah blah, etc. The wall itself isn't even that amazing, because if you have two teammates with it, they can break that wall pretty much immediately in like 5 seconds. I think Deadlock is a not used character, and it goes below trash for that reason, just because it's really like there's no point of him being in the game. Fade is probably a high B tier character. The reason I say Fade is not an A tier character is because, one, in ranked, people would rather prefer using Sky as a main initiator and even arguably KO and Breach. But the thing is with Fade as well is that in competitive, there are only a few maps where Fade is used the mostly, which is Bind and Lotus. I don't see her being used on a lot of different maps, and for that reason, I'm gonna throw Fade in a B. Util is amazing. I love the eye. I love the fact that there's an orb that can literally get people stuck in an area if you throw it correctly. It is hard to get down, but if you get it done correctly, you get rewarded for it. Gecko is an initiator that everybody clowned at the start when he first came out, but he has improved and been buffed so well to the point where he is easily an A tier character in my opinion. His blind is overpowered. People are still not gotten used to the fact in rank that you have to break the blind by tapping it, and you can't swing away from it like a normal Breach blind or a Sky blind or anything like that. It's based on you being able to shoot the blind while also being game back to shooting your opponent, right? It's different from dodging a blind and shooting your opponent. You have to break the blind itself like a Reyna blind and then look back at your opponent and shoot your gun. That's what makes Reyna so intimidating, because if you get caught by a blind, you have to break it. There is no way of getting around it. You can't dodge it or anything like that. I keep flicking my head as if I'm dodging in real life, but you get what I mean. Harbor is also another character that isn't used often, but he's been used more than Chamber in competitive events, and in rank maybe not as much. It's hard to differentiate between the two. I think Chambers used a bit more, but he has some value in competitive, and when he's used in ranked, if you use him properly, he has some value in rank. I don't think people favorite playing him, which is rough for him, but the thing is with Harbor is that a really good player knows how to use Harbor really well. ISO was busted. His double tap was busted at some point. His wall was really good to get into sights. A lot of his kit was really busted, but I'm still gonna put ISO in a B tier, if not a C tier, because he's not used competitively. He doesn't have blinds. He doesn't have movement to get into sight. The thing with characters like Jet that's gonna make it an S tier, I'm gonna tell you now, Jet's probably gonna be an S tier, is because he has movement. Jet has movement. Reyna has a blind. Other duelists like Yoru have a blind. They have something to help get into a sight and get away from people and fight people while they're exposed. But the thing with ISO is that in ranked and competitive, the only thing that can really expose an opponent while using ISO is his break, and someone can run away from that break really easily, especially if he throws it onto sight. They can get away on defense. ISO is an overpowered character in ranked, and everybody gets annoyed at his overshield, but the thing is he's not using competitive at all really, and he has no, if you think about it in the most logical sense, he has really not a lot of offensive potential as a duelist compared to anybody else. I'm gonna throw ISO in B tier for that. We're gonna order these tiers later, but for right now, let's keep it at where it is. Jet, unspoken, S tier. He doesn't have a blind, but he has entry smokes, he has a dash, he has an updraft, he has knives that literally are one-shot headshots. They are literally 5 vandals if you think about it. Jet's kit in util is use probably first, if not second in rank, the most out of all the agents in the game. It is also probably one of the most played competitive characters in the game right now. There has not been a meta yet where people don't use Jett in competitive because his dash is overpowered. Being able to updraft away and having the movement that you learn from Jett is something key for any other agent in the game and playing any other character in the game. I just realized what I said was the exact same thing back to back, but you get what I mean. Next is KO. KO is a great character. He's a great initiator. If you know how to play him properly, he's perfect. Learning how to play him takes a while, but that knife is really overpowered. His ult is amazing for getting onto site. It honestly guarantees you around at times. His ult even stays alive when his body goes down, and I love how he doesn't die immediately. He still sends out his shockwaves when he's on the ground. He's played a decent amount in competitive. There's no reason for me not to put KO in A for how much he's played in competitive, for how much people rely on his util, him having mollies, him having a knife, and all of that. KJ is also one of the better sentinels in the game, and I'm not really going to explain it because KJ is just unspokenly, if not Cypher's the best, KJ would be the best, but she's going to fall in the A tier for that reason. KJ has played a lot in ranked when Cypher's not as useful in certain maps. She's a #1 choice, and if it wasn't for Cypher, she'd be #1. Same thing in competitor. If Cypher wasn't as broken as he is now, KJ would be the most played sentinel, but KJ still used so much in competitive Valorant and ranked Valorant that it's not even funny. Even though I personally don't like playing sentinels when I don't have to, if I had to, it would be a hard debate between Cypher and KJ every time around. Neon has become probably right now in the game an S tier agent. A lot of people would hate me for saying this if this was 2-3 months ago when Neon was a fun character to play because of the speed and the boost and all that, but since she's gotten her buff, her wall is a perfect way to get into the site without getting shot. 1. Number 2, being able to move and have first shot accuracy on shots is broken. It is busted, and if you learn how to use that properly, it is dumb. There's been so many clips on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, whatever you name. There's so many clips if you search up Valorant on Neon's dumbass movement. It's so crazy how broken she is at this game. She's used so much more in rank now. She's used so much more on competitive now. Her util kit is brilliant. Everybody enjoys playing her. It's not like they're forced to play her because she's only the good agent in the game, one of the good duelists in the game. It's because her kit makes her one of the best duelists in the game. Omen also has to go in A tier for smoke. If Viper is the S tier of smokes, then Omen has to be the A tier of smokes, because Omen is probably one of the more difficult characters to learn to use. Everybody starts off with using Omen because he's one of the characters you get when you first start the game, but he's probably one of the more difficult characters to use, even if his kit seems like it's easy. You have a TP, you have smokes, you have a blind. The thing is, shooting that blind and being accurate is hard. Number 2, using that TP effectively and getting out of the hardest of situations is something only competitive players can really do. Ranked players struggle with it unless they play some sort of competitive and learned how to play it, or if they play the game for so long. It is a very used character when it comes to smokes, just behind Viper and just behind Clove. But Clove is only played a lot now because she's new and it's easy to use, but in competitive, she's definitely not as used as Omen is. And for that reason, Omen is going to go in A. Phoenix, I love Phoenix. Phoenix was one of the first duelists I ever learned to play. I love the swag that he has as a character, but the thing is, he's not used enough in competitive to even consider him a B tier. His util kit could be better. I love that he has a revive, but nobody really uses it to their advantage in competitive, and not even in ranked as much anymore. They rely on a lot of other people, a lot of other duelists, a lot of other initiators to get into sight, and so Phoenix is gonna fall into C tier. He's definitely not as useless as Harbor and Chamber, but he's still there. Raze is also one of the most crucial characters in this game right now. He is so good on certain maps, but the thing is, he's not like Jett and Neon. You can't use him on every map because there are still things that Raze needs to have in his kit, like a blind. He doesn't have a blind. He has movement. He has his molly, he has all of that, he has his bomb, whatever it is. His kit is amazing for certain maps, and if you play him correctly, he can literally top frag you every game. He can be the top fragger every game, even if you're not the greatest player, because his kit allows you to do that. I think Raze is the perfect A tier character, and he can't go in S because he's not used as much as Jett and Neon right now. But the other thing is, he's so useful that when he's an A tier, it makes him stand out as one of the best in the game. Now for Reyna. Reyna is one of the most overpowered characters in Valorant, and it's not because that her kit is necessarily overbroken, but it's the confidence you get from playing Reyna. There is only really one team in VCT that used Reyna competitively and got very high, and it was PRX something. Something was able to show you that Reyna, it can be used in competitive really well if you're actually good at shooting your gun and using util. But the thing is, she's also played the most in rank just beside Jett, and it is dumb not to put her in S because of the reason of how much she's played in rank. Arguably still played a decent amount in competitive. Everybody loves insta-locking her to the point that there's literally a term term called Reyna Instalockers that everybody clowns and makes fun of because it's so annoying when you have a Reyna Instalocker that can either be the shittiest guy you've ever known or one of the most best players that you've ever met. I think Reyna is an S tier for that reason, and that reason alone, that she makes such an influence on this game. Sage is a great character. If you're learning how to play the game, Brim, Sage, going along those lines, that is the characters you want to learn. They're very basic, they're very easy to use. Sage's kit is just a wall, it has a slow and a heal. There's not much to do. A slow is exactly what it sounds like, a heal is exactly what it sounds like, and a wall is exactly what it sounds like. Her ult, revive. It literally revives somebody. That's literally how it works. Sage is easy to play, but the thing is, they're not used a lot in competitive. They're used a lot in rank because people starting out in the rank I'm at, it makes sense. But Sage is still in a C tier character. I would say she's above Phoenix for how much she's played more as a Sentinel 1, and honestly above a Duelist is already like gives you more class, like it gives you more status, you could say. Sage goes in C tier. I think that's fair for Sage. Sky also has to be a very, very high A tier. If we were to give every role in the game, so there's 4 roles, if we were to give every role one person that should be an S tier, Sky would be an S tier, but that's not how we're rolling with this tier list. We are rolling off the specific fact how useful this character is. So Sky has played a lot in rank. Sky has played a lot in competitive. Not as much as Jet and Reyna in rank, but used a lot in competitive, more than Reyna for sure, but just not in comparison to Reyna in rank. And for that reason, people don't enjoy Sky as much as playing Reyna, because Reyna's just confidence booster and all this. People don't think that with Sky. People think Sky is a character you play when you're really good at the game. Sky is this character that her dog gets you the most info. If you use it properly, it can win you rounds. Same with her blinds. Info blinds are so OP, and they're one of the only info blinds in the game. So why not use Sky as your initiator? It's a very close S tier in my opinion, and Raze and Sky have the same argument of being an S tier, but Sky's thing is that it's just not used as much. It's used a lot, and it's used a lot in competitive and ranked, but it's not used outstandingly in competitive. It's not used outstandingly in ranked, if that makes sense. Sova is a great character. I would say right now Sova is probably a B tier character because Breeze is not in the game right now. In ranked or competitive, Breeze is not in the game, and for that reason Sova was the most used initiator on Breeze alongside KO. But the thing was that Sova's dart on other maps is just not as useful as having a KO dart that can just take away the site area. It's just not really the character you need to be playing in some of the maps that are in the game right now, and it's just not used a lot in ranked as much anymore, other than really Haven. It's not used a lot in competitive because the current meta, people don't really get excited to play Sova. People don't get excited to see a Sova. There's only really a few Sova characters that you see online that are actually good at the game and you're intrigued by it. I'm gonna put Sova in a B. I think it makes sense to put him B. I would say he's above Fade for sure. I would say that Fade is above Brim, blah blah blah. That all makes sense. Viper goes in S tier. Viper is arguably, I would say the order in S tier right now has to be probably Jet, Reyna, Cypher, Neon, Viper. Think this makes sense. Viper is a low S tier, but honestly, if Neon wasn't as overpowered as it was now, I would put Viper ahead. And the reason is Viper's ult is already broken. Welcome to my world. Everybody knows the big ass smoke that creates, and literally you get to hide from everybody. Number 2, the wall and the orb is smoked is perfect. The wall takes up so much space on the map. Having a wall lineup is perfect. Having orb that you can pick up and take away as you play the game, turn it on, turn it off. That way of the wall and the orb working is perfect for Viper's character, and her molly is even better. She's used a lot on maps such as Icebox. She's used a lot on maps as a second controller because that wall is OP not to use. Viper makes sense as played so much in competitive, not played as much in ranked in comparison to competitive, but still played a lot. Everybody enjoys playing Viper because it's like you control the tempo of the game. This is the one smoke character where you control the tempo of the game. If you turn on your wall, people are scared to go through because you get decayed. You get one shot and you're dead. We're getting close to the end. We have 2 agents left, and the next one is the newest character to the game, Vise. Now, Vise is another character where everybody hyped her up. The wall was so busted, how it's like you could trap someone in. The whole ult of being able to disable the primary weapon is so busted, it will win you that round. But the thing is, Vise is not played enough for being a new character. I don't see her in ranked anymore that often. I don't see her in competitive, in Ascensions, or anything like that as often. I don't even think people are hyped to play this character anymore, nor did I see a lot of content on Vise. That's the other thing. A lot of these agents is like, when they came out, they had content being made on them. There's so much Cypher lineup content. There's so many insane jet clip content, especially with the op. There's insane aces with Reyna content. There is insane movement with Raze content, etc, etc. But with Vise, as a new character, there was really no content other than that wall. No one really cared, and now no one really cares for that wall because it goes down after a bit. So Vise is a C. She's still more useful than Chamber because of the kit, but I wouldn't say Vise is a Sentinel that people really care about. She's probably the lowest rated Sentinel right now. Yoru is also a very insane character. I'm gonna put him in A tier as our final final character of the day. I think Yoru's kit with blinds and the TPs and all of that, and is all being able to get on a site invisible and scare your opponents to the point that they get pushed out of site immediately so that they have to play retake is insane to me. Yoru's kit used properly, it is one of the hardest characters, probably the hardest duelist alongside Neon, and then also one of the hardest characters in the game in general to just learn, to the point where I think Yoru deserves A tier. He's not as good as Raze because I think Raze's kit is used way more, but the thing is, he's definitely up there. Now, to reorganize our tier list, I would say our S tier is completely fine. Let's start from the bottom actually. Not use Deadlock, D, Chamber, nobody in trash, I would say. If we want to be nice to Deadlock, we can throw it in trash. But C tier, I think this makes sense. Vise has to be the lowest, just not enough. Harbor, Phoenix, Sage, I feel like that makes sense. B tier, ISO's the lowest because there's not really any impact competitively, and even in ranked, it's like people know how to get past the ISO stuff now, and it's not like the only thing that's really overpowered is the overshield, but once you get past that, it's really not a problem to fight an ISO. Brim, basic character to learn. Phase, Sova, Clove, I think that's fair as well. Sova still mattered about enough to have that high of a rank in S and B tier. A is where we have to organize stuff. So I would say Omen has to go above. The lowest rated person in A right now probably has to be, this is hard. I think it's KO. I think KO stays. I think Astra has to come here. I feel like there has to be something between KO and Astra, and I'm gonna say that it's probably Omen. No, Omen's used way more now, so I guess Astra's here. I would say Breach is here. Omen, perfect. Gecko, KJ, I would say KJ probably goes above Yoru, and Gecko and Yoru are low-key kind of tied. This makes sense here though. A and Ray, Sky, KJ going forward. We know the rest. S tier stays the exact same. We have Viper, Neon, Cypher, Reyna, Jet as our number one. I like playing Reyna a lot more, but I know if I was to play Jet, he would be the most useful character and hands down probably the best agent in the game. And with that comes the conclusion of our tier list of the agent's character. Now, this was one of the hardest tier lists I've done, and it would probably be the hardest tier list I've done for a while. If you guys have a better tier list than this and you don't agree, just let me know down in the comments and we could talk about it, or you might see another tier list like this in the future. That is the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I know tier lists are controversial, but let me know down below what you guys think. And if you guys enjoy this content, make sure to like and subscribe. Other than that, I will see you guys in next week's video, and peace.